Hey, everybody, welcome back, and thank you so much for listening to the Dog Trainers Podcast. This is Mariano Alvarez here with Brent LaBrada and two very special guests that we'll be announcing in just a second. First, though, I do want to let you guys know that you can find us on Instagram, Facebook, and YouTube, all by searching the Dog Trainers Podcast, and that's all one word, at Dog Trainers Podcast, as well as all major podcast platforms. And we want to thank you guys again for just the crazy amount of support we've been having. And Happy New Year, by the way. This is our first episode since we've been back. And we've noticed a lot of changes in our listener base, and it's interesting to watch people kind of around the world pick up on the podcast and run with it. We want to thank you guys again for sharing around and helping us grow. Shout out to Lake Stevens, Washington, San Jose, California, Sydney, New South Wales, that's a new one, and Calgary, Alberta, in Canada. What's up, guys? Thanks again for listening. And with that, over to you, man.
What's up, everybody? It is Brent, and Happy New Year again to everybody. As Mariano said, we have an amazing special guest. There's actually two special. You guys get two for the price of one. This is amazing. To tell you guys a little bit who they are, if you guys go on YouTube and you guys just put in dog training, these people have one of the biggest YouTube channels right now when it comes to balanced dog training. Next to Zach George, next to Ian Dunbar, next to our friend Tommy Davis. We have the creators of Canine Performance, Natalie Dobkins and Matt Hubble with us. How are you guys doing?
Doing good.
Doing fantastic.
Love to hear that. And as you guys know, we always like to bring you guys some new, fresh content. So we like to bring people who are in the game. We like to bring people who are busting their butts every single day, trying to make a difference in this industry. And hopefully they can drop a little bit of knowledge that might help you guys either start off your careers or progress your careers to the next level. So go ahead and take it away, Mariano.
So here's a question for you guys, because I've noticed since the first time that we first became aware of Canine Performance, one thing that really blew me away with you guys, and it wasn't surprising when I found out your guys' backgrounds in marketing and videography and all the amazing things that you guys have done on that front. So just tell me a little bit about the work that you guys did before you decided to kind of get into dog training. Did you guys get into dog training at the same time? Did you know each other by that time?
Natalie, do you want to start?
Yeah, I'll definitely start. So my background in general before I became a dog trainer, so I was always into sales and marketing and management. And in college, I had suffered a very traumatic brain injury. I had a contusion on a part of my brain. It left me with a pretty severe speech impediment. I had a really bad stutter. And I was looking for different ways to overcome this, speech impediment and just get a lot of reps in my communication. And so one of the things that I kind of stepped outside of my comfort zone was to do a sales internship where I was required to do 30 in-person cold call sales to business owners in my college. And I was selling print advertising towards college students. It was definitely a challenge, but I finished 8th in the nation in our new markets, did really awesome. But I continued to work through that company all throughout college. And then when I graduated, the company was like, hey, we would like you to come to North Carolina and to be one of our regional sales managers. So I stepped more into the corporate world of regional sales management. So I had to recruit, hire, and train 50 plus interns across my territory of Georgia and Alabama. I had 13 universities, and I had to travel to each of these universities in person. And the internship that I did, I was then coaching these students. How do you walk into a business and shake a business owner's hands and just pitch them cold on print advertising? Old school, very, very old school. So, and I think that honestly, a lot of my just strengths when it comes to teaching, when it comes to educating, breaking things down in a certain way really came from that time period. Just being able to communicate with people, be able to motivate them and inspire them. Because I'll be honest with you, it's not an easy internship to do 30 cold calls per day and be able to motivate college students. It's very scary to be able to do that. And so, was doing all of that, moved around to a couple of different roles and everything. But at that time, Matt and I met, And Matt already had a dog, a Siberian Husky named Aurora.
Oh.
And a couple of months into us dating, we actually got our dog Atlas. And they were kind of a handful, but anyway, time goes on, whatever. And we actually got them professionally trained by one of Matt's friends. And through that whole process, I kind of fell in love with dog training. And my career professionally had sort of morphed and evolved. And Matt and I actually started working together. Matt used to have a digital agency, which I'm sure that he'll talk about a little bit. But I ended up going and working at a big box chain facility. And that's where I got a lot of my reps in, where I was cleaning the kennels. I put my reps in. I did that work of, waking up really early and, letting the dogs out, and you're scrubbing kennels. You're accidentally touching the things that you don't want to touch.
Real quick, it's really strange how good you get at knowing when a dog has to go poop. It's really good.
Oh, yes.
You're just gotta poop, get them out. My clients are like, how do you know? I'm like, if you only knew the reps, if you only knew the buttholes that you've seen.
Yes.
The crab
Oh
walk.
my God. Yes, absolutely. Oh my gosh. So I put in my reps of the cleaning the kennels and the doing the grunt work and, just doing all those things, which is honestly built a lot of character within me, to just be covered in the poop sometimes, be having to clean up the vomit. It's very character building. So doing all of that. However, I was also learning more about dog training, and I realized that, the way that we were training at the facility, it wasn't for me. Let me just say that. It was, I wanted to use more motivational work. I think that it was a little bit too simplistic. Nothing wrong with them at all. They were super awesome. They were really great. But I just kind of went and did other things. But it was just at a certain point, and Matt tells this part of our story a lot better. It just kind of came to this point of well, why don't you just do this? Why don't you just do it? Which is, I think that for a lot of dog trainers, that's kind of what happens, right? It's just kind of why don't I just do this? So here we are with Canine Performance. So I'll kind of let Matt introduce himself, but that's kind of my very high level overview of my background.
I love that. That's such a cool story.
Thank you.
So like Natalie said, when we first started dating, I had a Husky, Aurora. And so, we'd bring her everywhere. Natalie and I, when we first met, she had just moved to North Carolina. So I was taking her to the mountains and the beach. And of course, you got this young Husky puppy. We're just, we're still around college age, right? So we're just running around all over the place. And of course, we were like, she needs a friend, so we went and got them trained. And along that time, I was really in the budding, I'd say, start of my entrepreneurial career. I had gone to college. I was really, really into fitness throughout that time. And, in my sophomore year, I ended up winning this big award on bodybuilding.com. Actually, in hindsight, it really wasn't a big award at all. But, at 19, it was a huge award. I'm on the front page of bodybuilding.com, throughout this time. And suddenly, seemingly overnight, I have all these people on my Facebook at the time, and they're messaging me, can I buy this workout program from you? Can you, can I, what are you doing for your routine? How do you do this or that, the other? And, I was in these networking groups online. They're like, oh, hey, just sell some plans just have them pay you through PayPal and just, email coach them online, virtual coaching, man. And I'm like, okay, sure. I'll pay me $25, pay me $50. So, around the time I met Natalie, I'm kind of doing this, I'm working as a personal trainer and just trying to figure out what I'm doing. I know I love fitness. At this point, I'd been to college, I'd been to flight school, I'd been doing all this random stuff. And, what ended up happening is at that same time I was working at I was building an auto garage actually. So I was doing this fitness side hustle, kind of figuring out, and I was also working at building this auto garage from the ground up, totally refabbed this old oil change spot into this luxury European import garage. And so I'm just learning about every aspect of the process, from managing a P&L to buying different supplies, and just really seeing what it takes to just take a blank canvas and turn it into something. And, I would say looking back at my life, I've always enjoyed building community and kind of building brand and just putting equity into that with like these small little deposits of content and messaging and just making sure everything kind of is consistent, right? And so, I had done a lot of that at this auto garage. That's where Natalie and I met. And, at that same time,
You guys met at the auto garage?
yeah, so Natalie, that's where Natalie first met me. She came, I was like, I'm building this auto garage, little flex, right? I was like, oh, this girl,
You're like, you want to come
for the first
to
time.
my...
I'm like, hey, I'm working at
garage?
I'm working at the garage, but you can come. Like, we're putting paint on the walls, we're building desks. Natalie's a great desk builder, by the way. We learned very quickly that she's
IKEA
more meticulous. Certified? Yeah, exactly, right? So, we're doing this auto garage thing, and kind of to skip ahead. It was at the auto garage that, I start getting into photos and videos. I'm taking pictures of cars. Like it's a grand old time. And, throughout the rest of that year and the next few years, I got really into videography, and that started turning into me just seeking out different opportunities. I was always taught to kind of leverage my skill set to get a seat at the table, right? So I used my interest in video, and at the time, the opportunity that existed, which was that lots of these creators and other people that were building reputations online needed that consistent content. So I'm like, I got a camera, well-spoken. I'm a good reflection of you. If you got something cool going on, just let me know. I'm there. So I found myself in Gary Vee's office. I found myself at huge conferences. And long story short, within the next few years, I had built a digital agency and was managing talent at Disney and doing all at award shows. I was interviewing people like Alesso and all kinds of just interesting stuff that I would have never foreseen coming. And really throughout that journey, it just showed me that, really anything's possible. If you just, are dedicated and you seek out and create the environment that you need to thrive, really anything is possible. Here I was, just this person had dropped out of school and kind of diddled around, that had suddenly found myself, standing next to all these different celebrities at an award show. And, in that moment, I realized that particular environment wasn't for me, but it just really was a representation of, just how far you can get in your journey with just some grit and just, chasing down a passion and kind of trying to find that marriage of the two. So, with all that said, basically around the time that all this talent management stuff was happening, and, we were working on bigger projects and taking on, we're basically moving project to project to project. Natalie's working for us part-time. She's also getting her reps at this big box facility. And my business partner just tells me, one day that, a client that we had done a big campaign with, he's like, I think I want to continue working on that. I really love the product. And it kind of caught me by surprise. And obviously Natalie and I were together, and I just kind of made me take a step back, and I was like, well, what's next? Like all I know how to do is to continue kind of like just getting creative. So at the time I just started vlogging my own videos again. And I was like, one day I was like, Natalie, let's just make a dog training 101 video, let's make it. I need something for the vlog.
That's the one that shows up.
Exactly. Right. So alas, the video title, if you guys want to look it up, was How to Start a Business in a Day. And it was really just it was like, hey, let's just be theoretical and say we want to start a business. What would you need? Right. And my whole thesis for the video is that you need a logo, you need a website, and you need a message, right? And so we went and we made this video, and so became Canine Performance, or at the time, what was going to be Performance Canine, but we ended up realizing that didn't make sense because people would think it was like a circus, and so we were like Canine Performance.
The talent agency for dogs.
The
exactly.
amazing canine performer.
So that's kind of the story of how how Canine Performance came to be, but it was rooted. It was I like to tell people that Canine Performance, when people see the content and they see what we've done with our brand, it really is, it's kind of it's the culmination of years and years of honing in certain skills, and so really Canine Performance, coming from the fitness space where, the business model, so to speak, is somewhat the same, right? Personal trainers historically trade their time for money. And when I was in that space, I worked with a lot of different fitness influencers and personalities that, where I got to learn tons of different insights from how the back ends of their accounts work, how they're running campaigns to, build streams of revenue online, leveraging their intellectual property, right? And turning that into digitize products or services or things that weren't attached to their time. And so when Canine Performance kind of began, very quickly it became apparent that, you know, there was an opportunity to model what had happened in the fitness industry, because as we've seen now, everyone's got a booty program, everyone's got, you know, some kind of band or wrist wraps or something that they're, you know, selling. So it showed me that, you know, there was an opportunity in this space. And so when we kickstarted things and that video did really well, it kind of was like a one of those aha moments where you're just like, ooh, something about that seems like we should lean into that. And so we kind of followed that intuition, and the rest was history.
That's awesome, man.